Okay, well, I was gonna stop at Walmart on my way back to the office. I just finished my inspections out at Couple A and Waipahu. But I realized I can't afford anything anymore because I just bought new tires and spent $200 more than I had planned on. So for the rest of the month, I don't eat, I don't spend any money on anything anywhere. You know, I still have to pay my student loan and my car loan and a couple of credit card payments. So I'm kind of screwed until my next payday. Did Carol Channing die? I just heard, I caught the end of something on the radio that sounded like a tribute to her, and you know, it sounds like one of the things they do when somebody dies, and it's like, oh my god, no. Oh, I actually got to see her once. A boyfriend I had took me to Reno, and we went to one of the shows. It was it was real popular at the time. Oh, I can't think of what it was called, but it was like That's Hollywood or something. But she was the star of the show, and oh, it was so good. And you know, here she comes out at the end in all the big regalia that she's known for, you know, all the poofy hat, you know, the poofy headgear and everything. And so that was really cool. And we were close too. We were like right up in front. And so that was way cool. But you know, I mean, she's up there, but there are some people you just never want to see the end of, you know. So let's see, I said I got new tires. My two front tires were down to where there was almost no tread on them. You know, they were almost flat across. So I had to get new tires. It wasn't a let's put it off until next month kind of thing. It had to be done. I washed my car over the weekend. How about that? You wouldn't believe what it took to do it, but I did it. On Saturday morning, my weekend was horrendous. On Saturday morning, let's see, first let's go back to Friday night. Friday night, I could not sleep. I couldn't breathe, and I kept waking up with just all clogged up, and so, you know, I'd have to sit up and drain everything, and then I'd lay back down and it would all clog up again, and it was horrible. It was all night long, and I probably slept for a total of about 2 hours. You know, if you put all the little minutes together, it felt like I slept for 20 minutes. And so then Saturday, Tucker had a laser appointment for his knees. Got up, took him to that. It was really nice out on Saturday. It was cool, but it was sunny. It was beautiful. And so I got home and I thought, I'm gonna wash the car. The only thing is, my landlord's car, I park right next to my landlord's, and so I didn't want to spray water on their car. So I thought, okay, as soon as they leave, you know, I'll just pull in straight instead of maneuvering and turning my car around, which I usually do so that I can pull out in the morning without having to do all these turns in the dark because it's dark when I leave for work in the morning. So I thought, okay, I'll just pull in straight, and after they leave, I'll turn the car around and I'll wash it. So a few hours later, they did leave, and I I got the bucket of water and soap ready, and I grabbed the cloth, the scrubby cloth that I use, and the car keys, and I went out and I went to turn the car around. My wheels were locked. Where I park, there's this rock that sticks up out of the ground, and I had one wheel up on top of the rock. Well, it had somehow wedged into a rut on the rock, and I could not get the wheel turned. The steering wheel would not move so I could turn the ignition on. And I think I spent 20 or 30 minutes rocking the car, trying to get the wheel to move just enough so that I could turn the steering wheel and get the ignition on, so that it would unlock everything and I could, you know, get everything moved. It was horrendous. By the time I was done, sweat just dripping down. I was almost in tears. When I was trying to rock the car, if you have an SUV, you know how heavy they are. And where I park, it's on a hill. The driveway is on a hill, and then there's this rock. So usually I avoid parking on the rock, but I thought I just had the one wheel on the rock and it wasn't going to be a big deal. Now I know better. So I was like trying to, so, you know, when I park, I turn the wheels so that if something happens and the brakes let go, then it, you know, the way you're supposed to park. So then I couldn't get the wheels turned, and then, so I am trying to push the car, you know, I'm just trying to do it a little. I can't put it, you know, it's automatic, so I can't put it into neutral. All I can do is release the parking brake. Yeah. Watch it roll down the driveway. And I'm rocking back and forth in the doorway on the frame of the car, and the door is rocking back and forth and hitting me in the back. My back was so painful that night. It was just, I just was, like I said, I was practically in tears, and I was like screaming at my car, "You son of a bitch!" And it was just my poor little Carl. And so now he's got new tires, so I apologize to Carl. But it was just somehow I got it rocked enough, you know, and I kept going back and forth and back and forth. And I was actually, when I stood outside of the car and I like pulled on the steering wheel from outside, I could get it turned, but then I couldn't do it one-handed and then reach in and do the ignition key. And when I sat in the car, I could not get it turned enough to get the key turned. It was so frustrating. So that was my Saturday. Then I finally, when I did get it, like I said, it took about 20 or 30 minutes. And so when I finally did get it, I was like, the only reason I washed the car at that point is because I already had the bucket full. Oh, and then I have a spray nozzle of my own, and I went to put that on the hose. Water sprayed out the back. So I took it off and I put it back on again. Water sprayed out the back. I took it off. The nozzle on the hose was bent. I haven't used the hose in at least a month or maybe 2 months. So somewhere in the last couple of months, I don't know if it got run over or what happened to it, but the nozzle on the hose got bent. And so by the time I finished washing my car, not only was I wet from just washing the car, but I was just drenched from the hose spewing water at me. And obviously I didn't save any water. You know, I had to keep going over and turning the faucet off to Otherwise, you know, because I have the nozzle that, you know, you spray and you stop, and you spray and you stop, but it just kept pouring out the back of it. So it was horrible. I was just miserable. And then Sunday, I got up at 5:30. I usually don't start my laundry. Sunday is my laundry day. I usually don't start my laundry until about 7 or 7:30 because that's when it's light out and I can see to go walking up the stairs around to the back of the house, and I can see the panel on the washer and dryer. This week I decided I'm just going to start at 5:30, get it all over with. I'll be done by, like, you know, 9 or 10 o'clock. You know, I have 4 loads of wash, 3 of which go in the dryer. And so theoretically I should have been done by 10 o'clock. I should have been done. You know, if this were the old washer and dryer, 3 washer loads, or 3 dryer, you know, a washer, how am I trying to say that? You know, 4 washer loads, I should have been done by 9:30. The first load that I put in the washer didn't spin all the water out. It took an extra hour. I had to keep running back upstairs. I put it on the spin only, and it added more water and then did the spin, and then not all the water was out again. I had to go through that 4 times, and it took an extra hour. I could have just washed the clothes again. And then the dryer, my landlord got a new washer and dryer, I don't know, 6 months ago. This dryer does not dry on 1 cycle. I always have to put it in for a 2nd cycle. And so it takes 2 hours to dry 1 load of clothes, which is so frustrating. And so I ended up finishing, I started at 5:30. It was a little after 4 when I finished. 4 o'clock. 11 hours. That is insane for 4 loads of laundry. I really need to move and have a washer and dryer in my unit. You know, in my unit, that I can do laundry whenever I need to, whenever I want to, not have to build up these loads and do one time, you know, one wash, 1 day a week where I have to go and do laundry. It's too frustrating. And never buy a GE. The ones he bought were GE. I will never buy a GE washer and dryer now. And so that was my weekend. I just, yeah. I'm stressed just thinking about it now. God. So, oh, and then yesterday, or Sunday, they showed the Mummy movies, the 3 Mummy movies, you know, The Mummy Returns, and The Mummy, whatever, The Revenge of the Mummy, I don't know what it was called. And, you know, it's like, I loved The Mummy. You know, Brendan Fraser, he's just so adorable. And just, you know, there's something about him that's just, he has that, I don't know, that sparkle or something that, you know, that, I don't know. But, you know, in that movie, the way they play off each other is so cute. And, you know, the second movie isn't as good. And then I was like, there's a 3rd movie? Really? I didn't know there was a 3rd Mummy movie. And so I watched the first 2 on Sunday, but I didn't have time to watch the 3rd one because I recorded them and then started watching them later. And so I watched the first 2. It's like, yeah, I remember all these, you know, yeah. But I honestly didn't remember a 3rd Mummy movie. And it was made in like 2008. I had to look it up. And so I'm watching this movie last night after I got home from work. That's what I did. I watched this 3rd Mummy movie and did my nails. And I'm about 45 minutes into the movie, and I realized I've seen it before. Now, nothing says forgettable movie like 45 minutes worth of movie before you remember you've seen it. That is bad. And what's funny is, like, there were only about 3 scenes in the movie I remembered. Gotta change lanes. And yeah, it wasn't until they were in the museum in China looking at the horse that I remembered that part. And then I remembered the race through the streets within the car with the fire, in the truck with the fireworks. And then I didn't even remember the Yeti. So that's weird. You'd think you'd remember Yeti. But I don't know. And maybe it's because they had a different wife. You know, the woman role, the wife, mother role. I always thought after the second one, I thought it would be cute if they had a third one and did it like 10 years later and they'd had a little girl. I can see this couple as having like a whole passel of kids, like 10 kids, that they trek through Egypt looking at all the ruins and everything and getting into, the kids get into trouble and stuff. I think they took it in the wrong direction. I don't know. But, and then all of a sudden in the third movie, she's an expert in Chinese archaeology, and it's like, but she was an Egyptologist, so how did that happen? It didn't make any sense. It just was kind of weird. And anyway, so yeah, not a big fan of the third one, and I can see why I didn't remember it. But Brendan Fraser was cute. He's still cute. He's getting older, you know, like the rest of us, but he's still cute. I watched him in that movie about the Getty kidnapping, and yeah, I liked him in that role. And that was quite a movie. And ooh, yeah. And I was a teenager when that happened, and I don't even remember it. So, although I was pretty oblivious to a lot of things when I was a teenager. And there are things that come back now. You know what? I don't even remember the, what do you call it? What was it? The Apollo thing, you know, Tom Hanks made the movie. I don't remember that. And they're talking about school kids watching in school. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember anything about that. And I would have been a kid at that time, you know, in the 60s. But I don't remember that we sat around and watched the whole thing unfold in class. So, I don't know. There are some things I do remember. I remember the Patricia Hearst kidnapping. I remember all that. I don't remember the Manson stuff until the book came out. I read the book when it first came out. Let me rephrase that. I read half the book when it first came out, because I got up to the pictures and I looked at the pictures and I put the book down and I never picked it up again. Which is kind of odd, considering now I'm like a true crime fanatic. I listen to the podcast, like My Favorite Murder and True Crime Garage, and I watch the Identity, or no, what is it? The ID channel. What is it? The ID channel. I can't think of it. Investigation Discovery. And now Oxygen is starting to do the true crime shows, although they're not as good yet as the ID channel. I think maybe give them some time and they might be. But yeah, and I, you know, read the book. I read some of the books when I can get them, because I do free books, and you don't really get the good books when they're free. When you only do the free books, you don't get the good ones. I would like to read, what's the one? The one Paul Holes just came out with the audiobook. I would like to listen to that. And I have a reason for that too, which I'll go over in a minute. And God, even in a tunnel, look how bright it is out that window. And then, what is it? Alone in the Dark, I think that's what it's called. And then the Golden State Killer, the original book from before. That, and I can't think of her name offhand, that she wrote. But I had a friend in California that I think may have been a victim of the Golden State Killer. I don't know. It is so bizarre because I never, even with all this stuff about the Golden State Killer and hearing how he killed, the methodology, all of the binding and the tying, and you know, everything with how he did this with other people in the house and all of the stuff that he did, I never associated it with this murder until the guy that they think did it, and that he was caught. And something just snapped in my head, and I thought, oh my God, everything is the same as Gloria's murder. And it just, because she was tied when oh God, it was just horrible. Her little girls found her in the morning and went running down to Grandma's house and told them, you know, something's wrong with Mom, and Grandma had to come back up to the house. She was tied to the bed. She had a scarf around her, like I think I don't know if it was a silk scarf, but she had a scarf around her. And it was just like all there. And it's like, you know, I'm not in touch with the family. This woman was more of a casual friend. She was just really nice to me when I was new in town and didn't know anybody. She was the niece of an old family friend of my parents, and so that's how we knew each other, or how we met. And so, you know, it's like, you know, the old family friend of ours they're both gone now. Her parents are both gone now. I've never really, I've met her husband, but I didn't know him. I like met him at a party or something. And she was just so nice to me, and it really pains me to think that she might have been a victim and no one will ever know. And I have no idea how to find out if they're looking into things like that, you know? And at the same time, don't want to rile up everybody, you know, like, if the husband and the kids are like, you know, we're done with it. I know that her murder was never solved, and if the father and the kids are like, well, you know, we just want to put it behind us, we don't care, and you know, not that we don't care, but you know how some people do that, they just like, we want to put it behind us, we don't want to think about it. It's been, God, 30 years, you know, we don't want to do this anymore. So, you know, I was not close to her where I could go and bring it up, so I don't know. But it bothers me. Her death has always bothered me, and I can only hope that in California they're looking at all cold cases to see if the MO fits any of his stuff, which it does, and that they're going to look for DNA or anything else and see if they can get anything to match up. I don't know. It's frustrating, and I can't believe I'm almost back to work and I've been talking this whole time, and on such a variety of subjects. I mean, uh-oh, I hear sirens. Okay, it must have been on the street because I don't see anything. So, let's see. I'm going for an ultrasound today on the lymphedema. Yay! And then tomorrow I'm having dental work done. I have to have a cap put in. They did all the grinding and everything last week, and my jaw's been killing me all week, and I go back tomorrow to actually have the cap fitted on, so that should be easy, and maybe I'll stop clenching. I can feel I've been grinding my teeth. My jaw hurts on both sides, and I know it's not the tooth itself because it was an upper tooth. So I will be glad to have that done, and maybe I'll stop grinding the teeth. What else? Other than that, I think the rest of the week is Tucker goes back for another laser appointment on Saturday. Next month I have a CD that's coming in that I can cash out, and I think I'm going to put some of it back into another CD, but I'm going to use some of it to pay off my credit cards, and what I want to do is set up something so that I can start taking Tucker in twice a week for his laser therapy, because right now he's not getting any better. I did start him on glucosamine. I forget what they call it. They're these big pills. They're glucosamine and I forget something else. You know, you buy them in a big jug at Costco. In the dog section, it says they're for dogs. And they're probably made of the same stuff that you can give to people, but they charge more because it says for dogs on the cover, on the label. But he eats them, so that's something. I was afraid he wouldn't swallow them, but they're chewable, and I just drop them into his food. So he gets 2 a day, but so far, you know, and it takes about 4 weeks. The vet is telling me it takes about 4 weeks to really see a difference, if it's going to make a difference. It's only been a couple of weeks, so we don't see anything yet. But I'm thinking about putting aside some money so that I can start taking him to the laser therapy twice a week. But if I pay my credit cards too, I'll have a little bit more leeway with my monthly money that I might be able to manage. I don't know. I have to sit down, you know, once I actually have the money in hand, I have to sit down and see what I can pay, what I can put back, what I can do with it. I also want to move, so I have to start looking. I have started looking at places just to see what's available, but I have to put away enough for a deposit and a couple of months rent just in case anything happens. And there's so much. I'll tell you, don't ever get sick. It's too much to deal with emotionally, you know, aside from the physical. It's emotionally draining, it's monetarily draining. I'm still trying to catch up from all the money issues that the cancer has caused, and I'm still not out because, you know, I'm still having to go in for all these tests and ultrasounds and MRIs and doctor's appointments, and I'm supposed to restart the physical therapy for the, you know, on the MLD for the lymphedema, and it's just like just so ongoing. It feels like I will never get my head out from under. Okay, I am just about back at work. I'm like a block away. So I am going to finish this up, and I will talk to you.